We are on the West Coast, baby! And this is gonna be very different to every single other vlog that I made because guess what? Because this is a boys trip. I know, there wasn't a universe that I thought that me and a boys trip would actually coexist, but here we are. I managed to weave my way into one. And just for clarification purposes, if you're wondering how I adopted a group of 9 boys, these are my brother's friends from college, or as we like to say in the rest of the world, university. Now, this isn't my first rodeo. I've been to the West Coast before. I've been to California before, but by California I mean Disneyland. We went to Orange County. We had a good time, saw Mickey and Minnie do their thing, and then we also went to like the Walk of Fame, Venice Beach, and we went on one of those touristy bus tours where they were like, let's show you all these celebrities and famous people's houses, but really they just show you like Tom Cruise's chimney. That was my experience with California prior to this trip. Now, I really hope that many of you can relate to me when I say this, but when I tell you that I have actively pictured myself living Hannah Montana's life far too many times during this one lifetime, it's insane. I pictured myself surfing in Malibu, having acai bowls for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, followed by like street tacos, and then like going down Rodeo Drive with my famous best friends. It happened, okay? It was in my dreams. It was also in my daydreams and my night dreams and my midday dreams. Guys, for a second there, I honestly believed I was living in California. I could have been on Disney Channel for all I cared. We just so happened to be in a city town area called Carpinteria, which is someplace I just recently discovered, and I'm so glad that I did. It is the most quintessentially Californian beach town that you can imagine, from an outsider's perspective at least. It was a lot of frisbee and beach volleyball and going to diners that have been there for longer than I can even imagine, and sharing family style dinners with people that I'd only just met but somehow felt like lifelong friends. I'm so grateful for this entire experience and how far from the LA experience it was. It was wholesome, it was inviting. We were playing pool on a Friday night. I will say it again. We went avocado picking. I mean, I know California is a land of avocados, but goddamn, those avocados were beautiful. Beautiful. They gave Malawian avocados a run for their money, and that's saying a lot. I've seen a lot about California in recent times, about wildfires and tragic natural disasters that have been occurring, and to my surprise, the weather was just as beautiful as the avocados were. It was that temperature where you could lie on the beach for about 4 hours, still be outside with your friends, and then bring a hoodie along so that you could watch the sunset. Every day was so serenely monotonous, and I mean that in the best of ways. We would wake up, do a few hours of work because we were still working people, and then we'd go to this spot called Lucky Llama Coffee House, grab a matcha, which is beautiful, by the way. I keep using the word beautiful because I just seem to not be able to find any other adjectives in my vocabulary. Grab a matcha, a chia seed pudding, an acai bowl, and then head to the beach for a few hours, and then we'd grab lunch somewhere, go back to the beach for a few hours, and then have dinner and like play board games, and it was one of the best times I've ever had in my life. But I've never celebrated the 4th of July, let alone celebrated the 4th of July in the US of A. Now, I don't know if that's a thing that's culturally appropriate to do. I don't want to stress myself even more and learn about the dirty depths of the US political system, so I will just wear red, white, and blue with my friends, and we will eat peach ice cream and have a barbecue with their family like they always do every year, and just celebrate being together and alive and having a happy time by the beach. It was not patriotic. It was meeting the grandparents and having corn on the cob and giggles and cowboy hats and sharing scary stories by the fireplace, which actually ended up being not very scary, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I was going home after being the right level of tired and then waking up the next morning to go get surfboards and catch a few waves. And a few waves I did catch, but by a few I mean very few, guys. I'm just gonna blame the fact that they gave us pro surfboards, and I'm just not ready for that in my life right now. I'd also never worn a wetsuit before, so that was fun for a first time. I felt like an absolute sausage. I mean, is it really a boys' trip to the beach if there was no hole digging? And believe me, a hole was dug. When I tell you, I could have fallen into that pit. Ooh, scary. And for a second, just a brief second, if I closed my eyes and you would have told me that I was on a beach in Malawi, I would have believed you. The sunset made me feel like I was right there back on the shores of the lake. One thing Malawi does not have though is good Mexican food, and I have never had Mexican food like this. I've been to Mexico once in my life, and by Mexico Mexico, I mean Cozumel, and what we did there was just go swimming with dolphins, which I am extremely ashamed about, by the way, and I would take that back in a heartbeat if I could. Oh my god, I just recently discovered chili rellenos. I'm trying to pronounce that properly and it's just not working. And dulce de leche tamales. Guys, life-changing. Also, just before we hopped onto the plane at LAX, we got some donuts endorsed by Anthony Bourdain himself, and they were divine. Yeah, that was my trip to Cali.